David Benavides gets a 3-fight game plan from TREACHEROUS revealed, and contains Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, and Jaya. And off the rip, I'm thinking that David Benavides is going to get annihilated. And I understand that he's a great fighter, one of the best out right now. Future pound for pound, future Hall of Fame, got a couple belts under his waist, and I don't think currently he has the skill set to fight either of those guys, nor the size to fight Jaya at 200 pounds. So he's probably going to be coming in the ring like 215, 220. So that's a massive size comparison, but let's just start at 175. Artur Beterbiev, that beast, that monster, isn't going to necessarily be slowed down by anything Beterbiev can throw at him. Now I understand that Bivol kind of stopped him with the jab, but Bivol, he's a heavy footwork kind of fighter where he moves in and out. When he jabs in, then he jabs out. Benavides is a lot of B's. Benavides doesn't necessarily do any of that. He stands in front of his opponent, takes the punishment, and then delivers the punishment tenfold back at his opponent. That's not how you get a win over Benavidez. That's just how you get knocked out. I don't see how that fight goes in Benavidez's favor, from the standpoint of Benavidez is a monster. He's not only resistant, but he keeps coming forward all 12 rounds. And if you're standing in front of him, you're kind of just a punching bag for him to do some work on. And so that fight, I feel, is kind of early and just disastrous for Benavidez's career. But going to the second fight TREACHEROUS brings up is Dmitry Bivol. Now, I will admit that's a higher chance of winning, I guess, but Dmitry Bivol is just too perfect in all around. There's nothing that he's not good at. Power shots, jabs, footwork, everything he has in his toolbox to sort of demolish Benavidez. I don't think that Benavidez has, I'm gonna just say David. I don't think David has the skills to be in a ring with a Dmitry Bivol, and he doesn't have the fighting style to be in a ring with Artur Beterbiev. So off the rip, those two fights are just horrific fights for Benavidez's fighting style. He's just gonna take a bad, brutalizing punishment from Beterbiev, and then a boxing masterclass from Bivol. But then we have the third fight at 200 cruiserweight with Jaya, which is even worse because he's like a Bivol style where he's just boxing and working his jabs and not necessarily looking to overpower, where Benavidez is going to try to overpower bull rush and sit there like a brick wall, slinging iron at his opponents. That's not going to do well for a higher weight class and then a smarter boxer. Or I can't say smarter boxer, but a what's the word to describe Jaya Pataya? He's just not really taking those chances. He's very smart with the risk he takes, and he's not going to like let a fighter that just stands in front of you kind of overpower him. He's going to circle, he's going to counter, he's going to just set up the perfect moves to kind of break Benavidez down one by one. And I honestly feel like that's also a bad fight for Benavidez to take. So off the rip, just putting it out there, that's 3 losses for Benavidez, Bivol, and Apataya. That's just 3 losses that he's going to take. And I feel like that's a bit haterish on my part, but it's also just a plain fact that those are high-level fighters, and they're only getting better. And I understand that Benavidez is also only getting better, but at the levels and then at the weights, it's just none of that is a good risk for Benavidez to take. Now, I do understand that he's going against Anthony Yarde, and that's also like perfect practice to like be prepared for not only the power but the skill sets that the higher weights are going to bring forth coming into the ring. But is Anthony Yarde going to be like preparation for Benavidez? No. For Bivol, definitely not. And then for the power and the size of a 200-pound Jaya Pataya, who could honestly go heavyweight if he wanted to. He's just that large, and he's just like he's powerful. He's a powerful cruiserweight. So I don't see any of those fights going very well for Benavidez, but it's still going to be exciting fights, legacy making fights. Is going to be something to obviously watch, and everybody should tune in to fights like that, because that who's really taking those kind of chances? Like, I know I just said, oh, you're gonna lose all of these fights, but the fact that someone can take that chance to be great, to go against all the odds, speaks volumes for the kind of person and kind of fighter he is. That's a person chasing greatness, and he's going to be great. He's going to be Hall of Fame. He's like a 3-time world champion as we speak. He made Canelo Alvarez, pound for pound #1, duck him for what, 3-4 years. So he's obviously a great talent, phenomenal fighter, and chasing more greatness. And that's what boxing needs to become the pinnacle of sports. So I'm excited.